Peace TV English, the solution for humanity.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another episode in the series Dawah Ilallah. The audience here today is a little bit, maybe they've just woken up and they've just got here, but alhamdulillah, we will get that energy going in a few moments, inshallah. We welcome all our guests from all over the world. We welcome you to another episode. Inshallah, you'll get the most out of this because we are basing this series on what the Quran teaches. We are confining ourselves to the text that is found and what reliable text is found in Islam. So we're not using our own understanding or our own wisdom. We are binding ourselves to the teachings that we find in reliable sources within Islam, that being the Quran and the Sunnah. Last week we were talking about the importance of following Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when we go and give our dawah. And it is narrated in one of the reliable hadith that by Allah, to guide somebody towards Allah is much better than to own a red camel. And I'm sure you all know this, probably heard this a number of times. Perhaps one of the imams at the mosque or somebody has spoken about this, one of the dawah courses. It says, to guide somebody towards Islam is better than to own a red camel. And we've all heard that it's like having a red Ferrari in our day and age. Something really amazing to have owned. But today, when we look at this analogy that is given in this hadith that we found in two different narrations, both in Bukhari and Muslim. In these narrations, this narration that is given, we have to understand that the red camel, as we look at it today, was something that was very, very precious. It wasn't just for that time period, it was something that would be for all times. It wasn't just like having a camel. You know, often we look at it and we just think of it as like owning a camel or having a car, and after 6 months or whatever, the car is no longer the best car on the road anymore. This was the idea of something having a long lifespan, being around for a very, very long time. Because it has the idea inside the person that owns this. This is something that I can make more money out of. This is going to, I could actually breed this camel if you think. Imagine if you had a beautiful animal, like we have in South Africa, we have a lot of farmers, and they have a bull, and they hired the bull out to other farmers to breed with it, because it's worth so much. And there is a gentleman that I know in South Africa who is a breeder of horses, has the most beautiful horses. And for breeding, he sells maybe $100,000. A lot of money, because he knows that it's valuable. In the same way, we got the idea when we hear the story, it's not just that one red camel. The idea is that it can lead to more things, more wealth. In the same way, when we look at dawah, it's not just calling one person, it's calling many people. It's something that's going to have fruits at the end. Even if you just called one person to Islam, it's the perfect scheme. But in Islam, we've got the perfect pyramid scheme. Because if you do dawah and you bring one person in, imagine you're getting a red camel for each person. It's the perfect pyramid scheme. Because whatever you breed from that camel is multiplying. So if you bring one person to Islam, and they become proper Muslims, and they start practicing, you're getting the benefits, the rewards from that, for the good things that they are doing, as well as any people that they may be pulling into Islam or calling into Islam. So it's a double reward system. It's better than the pyramid scheme, because you're getting two types of rewards from this. That's why people get so excited about Islam. There's a thing that's floating around on YouTube, which I don't like. It's called Addicted to Dawah. And it might sound good, but it's got the idea of what happens when somebody's addicted to something. They get a remedy, and they're no longer addicted because they get off the addiction. The addiction is resolved. The addiction is taken away and they get a treatment. And then you're no longer an addict anymore. Dawah is not addictive. It's natural. It's something that is normal. It's something that should be in you all the time. You don't have to get a fix or a high to get onto it. It's just a natural form of your existence. It's as natural as breathing. So I don't say get addicted to Dawah, I just say do Dawah. Because if you do Dawah, it is a natural thing. It's not something that you have to get yourself in the zone for. Remember we said some people want to get into the zone, get that power going, come on in the gym, more push-ups, trying to get into the zone, get the energy going. And then what happens? Then they get flatlined afterwards. The energy levels drop and they can't, no, I can't do anymore. I can't push it. I've got no energy. We don't want to be like that. We don't have to get into the zone and get into some type of mode. It should be natural. It should come out of the overflow of your heart, of the overflow of your knowledge. How do you gain knowledge? By passing it on as quickly as possible. Because if you learn something and you just hold it, it's not going to go anywhere. You need to take that knowledge and teach it to somebody else. The only religion in the world that allows you to take knowledge and teach it to somebody else is Islam. There shouldn't be copyrights. Because when someone writes something, you should take that and reteach it immediately. And that way you'll retain it because you taught it. When you read something, you're only going to remember a little bit of it. But if you read it, rewrite it, repackage it, and send it out, look at this writing that we are looking at now. It's by an author who probably doesn't even know that we're doing his book right now. Well, we're taking his information because it's good, sound information, we're repackaging it, and we're sending it out to the world. So that you have the benefits of somebody who probably doesn't even know that anyone even read his thing. It's sitting on a shelf somewhere and he didn't even know people were going to get it. The idea is to pass knowledge forward. And people are sitting here and at home, they're going to pass this on again. And so the reward will go to the man who wrote this. And so in Islam, we are being told to take this information forward, to lead others to knowledge. Do not let a scholar, and some of the scholars are going to go, oh, why did you say this on air? Do not let a scholar come to your town or to your village or your community or your mosque without stealing something from him. Not his clothing or his luggage, stealing knowledge from him. Say to him, before you leave, tell me one thing. Yesterday, I got caught outside the studio. And as I was walking outside the studio, somebody must have watched one of my talks somewhere along the line. And they said, tell me one thing about Dawah. They just said, tell me one thing about Dawah. They wouldn't let me go until I told them one thing about Dawah. And I go, oh, what do I say? You see, that's the right thing to do. Grab a person and say, tell me one thing about a hadith. Tell me one thing about this or that or whatever it is. Don't ask 20 questions because that scholar's got to move on. I mean, he's got a busy day normally. But you can ask one thing. And so you must be like a magpie. You know what a magpie is? Like a crow. It comes in and sees shiny things, comes down, swoops and grabs it and puts it in its nest. And then it likes shiny things. That's the way it does. This notebook I have here, it's got one-liners, it's just one-liners. Wherever it is, and just put it in. Maybe I've spoken to one of the people in the studio, maybe it's one of the technicians, and they said something, I thought, that's a good idea, I can build on that. And then I write it down. So we must gain this knowledge. This is what's encapsulated in the idea of this red camel, is that it's not just a red camel. Sometimes you go, it's like a Ferrari. It's not just like a Ferrari. It's like having the car dealership that makes Ferraris. Because if you're doing Dawah from the overflow of your heart, it's going to multiply and multiply, and you're going to get those people who became Muslims through you are going to get excited about Dawah. The man who helped me become a Muslim, Ford Hendricks, a simple man, a person that nobody knows he even is. Maybe in South Africa a few people know, but the vast majority, 98% don't know who this man is. He had an excitement and a zeal and a passion for Dawah. Did it pay off? Yes. Because he made me excited and passionate and want to do Dawah. So if you're excited and passionate, don't you think the person who came to Islam through you is going to have that same zeal? This is why it cannot be a forced thing. You cannot get into the zone to do Dawah. It must be a natural thing. It's not something that can be artificial. I spoke a few episodes ago about a group of South Africans, in fact all over the world they did this. They got buckets and they put roses in these buckets and they put little messages on each rose, and they went through the shopping centers and malls and they gave out these roses to people with the message of Islam. We're not telling you to go out on your own if you don't know how to do Dawah. Go with the team and then you'll get excited. So leadership is important. We're jumping the gun. That will be dealt with in one of the later part of the series. But next time we hear about somebody talking about the red camel, and it's as value as a red camel, we now know it's not just a camel. It has far bigger repercussions than that. It is much greater than just simply being a red camel. So when we see someone coming to Islam, the significance of inviting this person to Islam has out of this world benefits, literally. It's the insurance policy that doesn't mature on this side of life, it matures on the other side of life. What you're investing in is not in this life, it's in the next. It's time for us to come back from the break. We'll continue, inshallah.
Most countries of the world ban bullying. They fight it in their schools and universities. A lot of us are being bullied differently every single day. Some come up to us and say, do this, while others say, don't you dare. Some say this is halal, while others say, nope, this is haram. Are you confused? Do you feel lost? Join me in Umdat al-Ahkam, where, with the grace of Allah, we will learn the proper knowledge from the Quran and from the Sunnah, which would help stop this kind of bullying.
Join Asim Al-Hakim in Umdatul Ahkam every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 11:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 6 a.m. UK on Peace TV.
Hajj to the sacred house in Mecca is a duty for Allah upon people. But when is it compulsory for a Muslim? Did prophets make pilgrimage to Mecca? Is visiting the Prophet's mosque in Medina related to the Hajj? What do we say and do when performing each rite of the Hajj? These questions and more will be answered on my program, The Hajj, in our series, The 5 Pillars, only on Peace TV.
An obligatory journey to the heartland of Islam for those who can afford. Join to know Dr. Ahmad Ibn Saifuddin in the Hajj every Tuesday at 3:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 2 a.m. UK on Peace TV. Peace TV presents over 100 million viewers at one of the largest peace conferences in the world, addressing a sea of spellbound spectators. Over 30 world-renowned orators on Islam with credentials impeccable.
The truth of Islam.
Deen is your way of life. It is our duty, our obligation. By following the Quran and Sunnah, we will give the message to one and all.
With articulation exquisite.
Read the book of Allah.
Islam is the easy way. It's the simple way.
Remind each other.
The Muslim is not a source of harm for other people.
Collaborate with the people for good.
This is the call of Islam.
With the mission of spreading the truth of Islam.
Do what you can to spread the word of Islam. Wherever we are.
Live like Muslims.
Use your power.
Allah is saying, why do you need anything else? This Quran is self-sufficient.
The only book on the face of the globe, the Quran.
How a human being should lead his life is given in this instruction manual, the glorious Quran.
For peace to prevail on earth in Peacemakers. Next on Peace TV.
Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. We are continuing with our series, Dawah Ilallah. And as we said before the break, when we look at this concept of the red camel that is a reward for bringing someone to Islam, it's bigger than just the fact that it's of great value, like a vehicle or whatever it might be today. It's more than that. The idea is that it continuously grows, inshallah. And so the reward that we get from inviting a person to Islam is a reward that cannot even be counted on this life. Perhaps that's the reason why we don't get judged on the day that we die. Why we have to wait till the day of judgment. Because we don't know what the score is. We don't know what is in the balance. The deeds that we did in our life don't stop there. What are those people going to do that are going to be added onto your list? Maybe you said something wrong in your life and you did something wrong and led people astray. What is going to be added onto your list for that? So there's a big repercussion to this when we look at it. There are many things that are continuing long after we go. And so this is the wisdom that Allah has. This is one of the great controversies in Christianity. There's Christians will say when you die you go to heaven or hell immediately. But then if that is so, why is there a day of judgment? If you're already in heaven and you're already in hell, why must you be pulled out of hell to go back to hell again? And out of heaven to be judged, to be put back into heaven again? It makes no sense. The theology is flawed. We don't find this in Islam because Islam is a common sense religion. It's not a mystical religion that you have to try to find some guru to explain it to you, or have to try to figure out some deep theological meaning behind what the simple verse is saying. It just makes sense. Simplistic. So let's move on to the next point, and our brother will read. The next section deals with how to save mankind. How to save mankind from punishment.
To save mankind from punishment, it is a must that dawah should be extended to those who are ignorant or on the wrong path. Messengers are bearers of good news and warning in order that mankind should have no plea against Allah after the messengers. Surah 4, verse 165.
So the idea is to save mankind from punishment. This was the message of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and this is the message that we must give to people. We're not doing it for any other reason. If you see somebody standing on top of a tall building, unless you're from First Nations, you know what First Nations are? First Nations are people that are indigenous to America and Canada. What we badly call Red Indians. There's no such thing. But these are First Nations people. They were the first nation in America, first nation in Canada, and we should refer to the people that were there in the beginning as First Nations. But out of respect, we call people of that descent First Nations. They are very, very good at heights. There's something inside their DNA that allows them not to be fearful of heights. You know, some people are good at swimming. Some people are good at running. Like Ethiopia, second to none. Something in their DNA that Allah planted there allows them to be the greatest runners on this planet, basically. They are unbelievable runners. So different people have different abilities. But the First Nations people are not afraid of heights. You'll see them on these scaffoldings in New York, building. And they've got no connections, no things tying. We're looking at 60, 80, 100 stories up off the ground. Just walking on this little thin ledge, doing bolts and everything. Unbelievable, unbelievable. I looked at it and I thought, this man's going to commit suicide or something. What is he doing? And here they've got this absolute, they just walking around chatting to each other like it's nobody's business. That's something that Allah has given them. But generally, if we saw somebody higher up like that, and they were on a ledge, you're going to try to help them. You're going to go, oh, this person is going to try and do something silly, or they're in a dangerous position. So we will try to go there to prevent them from hurting themselves. And so we will try and pull somebody off from a dangerous position. If we see somebody walking and you're standing at the robot and you're talking to the traffic light, in South Africa, we call a traffic light a robot. I know it sounds silly, but we don't call them traffic lights, we call them robots. And I remember somebody saying to someone, when you get to the robot, you must turn left. And they said, we went there and we saw no robots walking around. He gave us the wrong directions. If you're walking at an intersection or traffic lights, and you're talking with somebody, and they don't look where they're going, and they walk into the traffic and you pull them, you're saving them from being hit by a car, then you are doing a good thing. So in Islam, we are there to protect people from falling off ledges. We are there to prevent people from walking into the traffic of life. So this is what this narration is talking about, that we are to save mankind from punishment, from danger, from hurting themselves. And this is the dawah that we need to extend to people. And we need to specifically aim our dawah at those that are the most ignorant to the fact that they are in danger, not to the ignorant people. We are to go to those people who are most ignorant of the danger that they're in. So it has to be prioritized. Remember we spoke about triage? What is triage? Anyone remember?
What is the most priority we give? Just a single intervention will do the most to that people.
Okay. So triage is like the most important person on the accident scene. If say there's a multiple car pile-up and there are 50 people lying all over the pavements, all over the floor. You go to the person who is closest to death first. You don't help the person who's got a cut finger. He goes, oh, I've got a cut finger. And this guy's got half of his head sticking out and his ribs are lying on that side of the street. That's the one you help, I'm sure. Am I right? So you go prioritize the danger. The one who is closest to death is the one you help first. And so we have to prioritize our dawah. We need to go to those people that are closest, not because of age, but because of ignorance. That's the priority. That are polytheists, those that are Christians, those that are calling shirk upon them every single day. Those are the ones that are the greatest danger. And that's why people say, why don't you just leave the Christians alone? Because we can't leave somebody standing on the edge. We can't let them walk into the traffic. It's our responsibility. We're going to be asked, why didn't you tell this person? We're going to be asked, we give you 150,000 opportunities to do dawah to even one person. You do it to nobody. We're going to be asked on those accounts. You cannot let an opportunity go by. Remember I was speaking to you a few weeks ago about how in the hotel that I was staying at, there was a man who's starting to say, Inshallah, Bismillah. He's a Hindu man. But just teaching him a few phrases every day, he's starting to pick up words. And so today, he asked me to teach him some new words in Arabic. You see, it's just a simple form of dawah. We're not giving him big, heavy concepts. It's just planting the seeds. And so now he's coming and asking, can you teach me 2 new words? Can you teach me 2 more things? Can you tell me why Muslims don't use knives and forks that are all shiny with gold and silver on them? Can you explain why you don't do that? Can you explain why you dress all the same? Why do you do this? He's asking questions. We're not telling, he's asking. So it's something very, very simple. So in Islam, we find that the message that we have been given is to help people that are the most ignorant first, and those that are furthest from the correct path, that are on the wrong path. Those are the ones we must prioritize when we're helping. So it's very, very logical, very simple. We're not making any money out of these people that we're converting. You know, it's not like we're Scientologists. Know the Scientologists? Anyone know who Scientologists are? Scientology. Scientology, they walk around the street there, and they see you when you're walking through the street, and they come up to you and say, brother, I want to give you an e-meter reading, or whatever they call it now. They've got so many names for this thing. And then you say, what is that? And they say, no, we're going to tell you like what your energy levels are like and what you need to change in your life and how you can be better, stronger, faster, more powerful, how you can influence people and win friends and all this nonsense they tell you. And then they get you and they do this test with you in this supposedly this electronic machine that can read all this stuff. And then they give you a printout and they say, you know what, we can resolve all these problems that you've got from this failing this test. You come to this course. It only costs like $100 to come to this course. And then you do that one and they say, after you've done that course, say, well, listen, there are 12 other courses. And as you go through each of the courses, they become more and more expensive. It goes from $100 to $1,000, from $1,000 to $10,000, from $10,000 to $30,000. Literally, not joking. And then the guy who brought you in gets commission. It's the pyramid scheme system going. So why is he calling you to Scientology? Because he's making money. It's a business. It's not about God. It's not about truth. It's not about saving you from being hit by a vehicle coming past or falling off a scaffolding. It's about making money. When that priest is standing there on a Sunday morning and there are 1,000 people in the church, he just sees dollar signs because each one of you are going to give 10%. If you want to really test that priest, say to that priest, you work in this church for the next 5 years for free. Not allowed to take a cent. Don't take a single cent from anyone. Take that 10% dollar signs you see on top of it and give that to the missions. Give that to missionaries. Give that to the poor and the sick and the needy. How long do you think he will be a priest for? Yes, he has basic needs. So you can give him a basic need so it covers his rent and food and his transport. Other than that, no more timeshare money. Then we'll see how many people still remain priests. Because it's about business. It's about money. This is why you'll see our imams, some of them, you know, they're poor. I mean, they get the worst salaries ever. I mean, they get below minimum. And yet they still continue. Look at the knowledge they know. Look how much heart they have for the work they're doing. You know, sometimes we take our imams for granted. That man is living below what most of you are making. He's poor. But he's doing it because of the sake of Allah. He's not doing it to become famous and rich and drive a Mercedes-Benz around. He's there because he's genuinely doing it. Very different. Islam is very different to what we find in these prosperity religions in the world. So we're calling people for the sake of Allah. We get no financial gain from it. Yes, we get gain from it. and the hereafter. But not on this side of life. But the main reason we do it is out of compassion, out of the sincerity of wanting to prevent somebody else from going through any suffering. Because it's only by the grace of Allah, it's only by the mercy of Allah that we are not in His position. It can happen like that we can be at man's position and we can be lost. So we ask that Allah guide and direct each and every one of us so that we can be on that straight path and that we can do dawah for the right reasons. And that's all the time we have for this week, so make sure you join us again next week, same place, same time. So from me, Arib Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
مشفق متعطف لا ينتهي بالحصر ما أعطاه رب رحيم مشفق متعطف.
Osama El Shami.
How can we get our children ready for the month of Ramadan? Sharing the stories of what the Muslims have been through in the past, in particular the first generation.
Nazir Irfan Al Mujahid.
Make this Ramadan very special to them.
Your taqwa, your righteousness, your goodness.
I want you to tell me about your experiences from the very first Ramadan that you experienced as a new Muslim.
The first Ramadan I experienced was amazing.
Umar Debua.
When I embraced Islam, it was like I was prepared. You know, Allah prepared me for something that I had no idea. It was an amazing experience. Beautiful.
My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, welcome to our program, The Straight Path.
Build your character on the path of the Quran and Sunnah in The Straight Path. Every Wednesday and Saturday at 3 p.m. and repeat telecast at 1 a.m. UK on Peace TV. Network, the solution for humanity.
Raising up champions. We want them to be champions. We want them to get out there and do good. We want them to be the best doctors, the best engineers, the best professors, the best business people. We want our children to be the best. Of course, I'm putting an emphasis on Islam. I want to see our children be scholars of Islam, hafiz of the Quran. I want to see them really get involved in what our religion is teaching.